Hello and welcome back to the final VFX breakdown for Zelda month, the month of November. Now today we're going to be breaking down the latest CK production series Majora's Mask Logic in Real Life. We produced 4 episodes for this series in the months of October and November, and now we're going to go back and we're going to look at some of the visual effects that we did for all 4 of these videos. We did a variety of different effects throughout these 4 videos, and we're going to go through and we're going to kind of pick one specific effect throughout each video. We're going to talk in depth about how we went about shooting, editing, and finishing off those effects and producing them for this series. This is really a fun series to do because there's a lot of different production elements that went into this and a lot of different things to coordinate and a lot of different effects to do. So I'm excited to go ahead and talk to you guys about how we pull all this together. As always, be sure to like down below for the YouTube algorithms and subscribe to the channel to catch more videos every Thursdays and Sundays, and let's dive right into it.
No, I need that. That's how I got here in the first place. And they're gone.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the effect here with Skull Kid disappearing and the fairies disappearing as well. So if you want to learn more about how we did the fairy effects in this video, I did a whole detailed video on that a couple weeks ago, going through all the steps in the process in After Effects, but we're going to talk specifically about the effect where the Skull Kid's mask starts to shake and then he disappears away. So for this effect here, there's a series of shots that we did that all kind of edit together here. The first shot obviously is the close-up of Skull Kid shaking the Majora's mask in the beginning of the magical effect. So this was done pretty simply. We did the shot of Brandon. He's the one wearing the mask in the Skull Kid outfit. Had him shake his head on set here, and in post we brought in After Effects and we added a couple different effects to it. One is a radial blur on the outside. As you can see, the way that the blur happens here, it all kind of comes from the center here and goes out, and we kind of made a ring of that on the outside. And for the motion here, we used the echo tool in After Effects. And with the echo tool, what we did is when you play it back, you can see in the movement, like the effect says, echoes of the previous frames here. It looks for kind of a creepy, sort of crawly sort of effect. It's honestly kind of based on what the actual game effect looked like. And once we move on, the effect gets a little crazier as we go, and then it goes into the warp here. Now the warp is done with a couple of different effects added in here. Obviously there's 2 shots here. There's a shot of him standing in the field and the shot with him without standing in the field here. And when we go into the part where he disappears, a simple opacity keyframe here for him to disappear, and on top of the opacity keyframe we add all these different effects. Obviously we have the little fairies flying around, done with the previous tutorial, but we also layer in a whole bunch of effects here. We got some more radial blur here. We make the radial blur kind of expand over time so the effect is growing. And we also add some leaves here flying in post. You can do this in something like a Trapo particular, or you can find kind of an overlay of something like this. This was done with an overlaid effect of leaves flying around. We added in some dust waves here, debris flying from Video Copilot as well, and we added some particle effects here. This is from kind of a magical particle effect packet that I have, and we make it the color that we want, and it creates kind of this simple particle fractal sort of magical looking effect that comes out and makes him disappear here, coupled with, you know, brightness layers, some more blurs and everything, and all put together, it makes for a nice effect here where he disappears away. When you're doing a disappearing effect, you don't want to make it just simply an opacity keyframe where they're just leaving the frame. You really want to add in those different effects, those blurs and those particles and the debris from the ground if it's something where, you know, it would create an impact where, you know, sand or dirt would fly up in the air. You want to help sell the effect by adding those things into the shot, and you want to characterize it in a way that it kind of works for the characters. So if you look at the colors here and the fractal particle effect kind of match the colors of the Majora's Mask here. So I thought that that type of effect would work in this situation. So it kind of all blends in well to one single effect. So let's move on.
Ooh. A man in a balloon. And I have the urge to do this.
Okay, so we're going to go over the Tingle effect here. The Tingle effect is another one of those effects that has sort of a series of shots that contribute to the full effect here. The first shot, obviously, we see Tingle here flying up in the air. This was done with Dane being our Tingle actor. He was standing on a blue screen. The full blue screen, obviously because he's wearing green, kind of hunching over, doing some weird little dancing effects here. And we took that shot, keyed it out, put it up in the sky here, also motion tracked as well. Can't forget about motion tracking. And then added this balloon effect in post. This was put in with Video Copilot's Element 3D with a model of a balloon and textured in a way where you can see sort of the trees in the background here if you look at the details and the reflection here, and just animated to go up and down, back and forth in a way where it gives the illusion that he's flying in the air. You know, it looks a little silly, it looks a little comical, but that's the type of piece it is. It's a funny, comical, silly piece, and it's Tingle. Like, Tingle's a silly guy. He deserves kind of a silly effect here. And of course we have the part where it's popped. This pop was done with the simple shatter effect in After Effects. And we cut to the shot where he's on, you know, close up on the blue screen. We have him looking around and then he falls. This was done with just doing a close up on the blue screen and replacing it with a kind of a Shutterstock kind of stock photo of a sky layer here and blowing it out sort of to match how the sky looked in the previous shot. And done with our typical strategy of keyframing and then adding light edges around the subject. And if you want to learn more about green screening and the steps to do that, we have videos on that that we posted a long time ago on the channel. So go ahead and check those out if you wish. All right, so let's tingle, kalum, pa over to the next effect here. Okay, so this effect here, where we have sort of this Breath of the Wild meets Majora's Mask crossover. Man, I would love to play a game like that. That would be pretty awesome, honestly. But we have the shot here where Link is pulling out the Sheikah Slate and he's going to pick the app that he wants to use. And instead of showing the graphics on the slate itself by getting like a close-up of it, we thought it'd be kind of cooler if we saw sort of a holographic display of the apps that he's showing here, what's on the screen. And basically, all we had to do was get reference images for all of the different apps that we have here, the bombs, the magnet, the camera, and put them all in a row here and animate them accordingly, kind of timing up with the swipes that he does on the phone here, and making that all in a pre-comped layer and adding a mask to the side of the layer, where on the sides of the layer here, it's feathered in a way where it slides off, it gradually kind of fades away. And when you're doing effects like this, it's really important to do sort of that feathered layer there, because that's more of how the hologram effect, it really wouldn't be realistic or really look good if it just had a sharp edge there. Feathering is always good when you're using masks like this. And obviously it's motion tracked into the scene here. So this effect would fall under motion graphics in a way. I always like to use motion graphics and, you know, real life footage and using 3D tracking in a lot of the shots that I do. I do a lot of that kind of stuff for work, and I kind of brought that kind of skill into the CK videos. And then in the second part of the clip, we have the bomb popping out, and this bomb was another effect that was done with Element 3D. I actually made a bomb model in Cinema 4D, kind of based on how it looked in the game, and I took that model and I transferred it over to Element 3D, and I know they sound pretty similar. They're two different programs that sound pretty similar, but you know, that's just how it is. And brought it into the shot here and had to carefully track it around and rotoscoped his hand here, having it stay in his hands, have the illusion that it stays in his hands, and cutting to the shot where it's rolling onto the ground here. And this looks really nice, honestly. I think it blends in really well. And it's another thing that's really important to do when you're doing models like this, especially in Element 3D, because it's very easy to do this in Element 3D by Video Copilot. You know, I plug this a lot. You should really go check it out. It's good to, you know, pick an environmental layer that you can do here to use the reflection on here that kind of matches the environment we're in. And I picked the one that had a bunch of trees in it, and you can kind of see some of the trees here in the reflection, and then that helps it blend into the scene and helps things look more realistic. So overall, really cool shot. I think what sells the most in this is the 3D camera track and the camera movement with it. Anything time that you can add, you know, some big camera move and 3D tracking, it helps sell your effects even more. It's I don't know what it is really about it, but it just looks cool and you should do it, and it's awesome. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, so the big obvious effect that's done in this last episode here is the moon. And to be clear, it's not just any moon, it's the moon. But anyway, so the moon. This moon, God, this is a really creepy moon. Take a guess of how this moon was done based on how the rest of the tutorial's gone so far. Yes, it was done with Element 3D in After Effects, like pretty much all the other 3D effects here that we've gone over so far. I did not make this moon model. I found it off the internet. And with Element 3D, and then I can kind of, you know, put this moon wherever I want it to go in the scene. And when I do a motion track, I also do a motion track here on every shot that the moon appears in. And so that way, whenever the camera moves and stuff, the moon is moving with the camera movement as well. And when I first dropped it in here, it didn't look completely realistic, but the step that makes it look extremely realistic and helps it blend into the scene is adding a little bit of cloud layer to it. Add some cloud layers to it done with fractal noise effects and After Effects, and put those into the shot and camera track them as well. And what you do lastly is you do the same kind of thing that we do when we do chroma keying for green screens and stuff. We do that light wrap that goes around the edge of the subject here. And you don't always have to do that for something that's done with a green screen. You can also do it for something that just has, you know, an alpha layer to it. So we can go and we can use this light wrap to take the information of everything in the background and have it sort of exist on the edge of the model here, and we can kind of exaggerate that to a degree that we wouldn't normally do, but doing it this way helps it look like it's kind of blending into the clouds here. And then obviously do a little color correction and stuff to help it blend everything together, and it looks great. And there's a variety of different things we had to do with the moon. You know, we had to do scenes where we had to do a bit of a rotoscoping with a character in front of the moon. And this was done a little bit differently than our typical rotoscoping with masks and stuff. Pretty awesome stuff. You know, I love it when we do videos like this and many different effects kind of come together. You have fractal layers, you have Element 3D layers, you have light wrapping layers, and you have 3D motion tracking, all that stuff coming together to making an effect. And that's what was great about a lot of effects in the series. And that's the kind of stuff I love to do, and I hope that we do a lot going forward. So that's it for this. What is this? That's it for this Majora's Mask breakdown, and unfortunately that's it for Zelda month. I'm going to be going back to some general filmmaking knowledge and visual effects breakdown videos, editing tutorials, and all that through the month of December, posting twice a week, every Thursdays and Sundays. Be sure to comment down below with other topics that you guys want to learn about. If you want to learn specific topics about filmmaking or editing or VFX or anything along those lines in general, I'd love to start a conversation down below about that, about anything you guys want. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see some of my extra work. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.